This is Otto from the Pickled Herring Stall by Lesley Atherton. The smoky heat from King Edward Hospital's mortuary rose and dissipated, as if reintegrating those human remains back into the very town that had nurtured them. And on the filthy cobbled streets, a tiny Finnish man named Otto sported a face as pale as alabaster, clothing of near enough one rag stitched poorly onto another, and of a sash proclaiming the wares this vendor sold. Thomason's Pickled Herrings, the sash read, as did the printed hat on Otto's head, under which grew an ever-expanding colony of enthusiastic head lice. Otto scratched and called into the almost empty cobbled streets. Floating ashes of the newly dead heard him calling, "Hot herrings, pickled! Hot herrings, pickled!" And the mortuary fumes added their own special smoke mix to his stall's wares. Otto peered with watery eyes at the watch on his wrist. 10 to 7, just a few more minutes and he would give it a rest for that Friday night. He scratched his head and took a £10 note from his money belt. The chemist. He'd likely make it to the chemist by 7:30, and those pesky lice, an unintended gift from his middle grandchild, would soon be gone. But no, he remembered, that couldn't happen just yet, as he'd promised Frank he'd meet him at the Sailor's Rest. Their usual position was next to the makeshift stage, holding on to the stanchion for support as the crowds grew. Things got a little bawdy at times, especially on a Friday night, but that was just the way Otto liked it. Loud, confident, energetic women, serious, intense singer-songwriters awaiting their chances to strum their guitars and serenade the women with greater and lesser degrees of success. And of course Frank Casper, the North's most successful impresario and Otto's best friend. So different they were. One wealthy, one poor, one tall, one small. But both had a passion for the lively nightlife of harbourside pubs. Otto coughed into his stained cotton handkerchief. Grey. There had been many cremations that day, but he was happy to carry the dead's dust with him, granting them a final night out. It was the least he could do. Otto smiled and unpadlocked his cart from the wrought iron railings. The old man scratched his white beard. Lice in there too, he thought. He'd ring his daughter when he got back from the Sailor's Rest. She likely knew that Lucas was infected, but he'd ring her just in case. Releasing the brake on his cart, Otto removed his hat and stuffed it into his pocket. He was so well known and well liked at the Sailor's Rest that they allowed him to stash his cart in their shed, and he was excited to get in there and begin the process of becoming refreshed. The pub was already buzzing with life, but Otto spotted Frank easily. An advantage of extreme height, to be sure. Following Frank's bad start in life, his years in Borstal had sorted him out, surprisingly, and had given him the drive and confidence never to return behind bars. "Food?" asked Otto. "Drink?" Frank nodded. "I'll get them," he said, as he always did. "Hey, Sarah," get him as usual. "Mountain Dew, ploughman's sandwich with plenty of Branston pickle, and apple pie with custard for pudding." Sarah exhaled in frustration. "Same every night, Frank," she said. "He'll have a pint of mild and a meat pie." There were days, almost all days, when pickled herring, mild and meat pie didn't hit the spot, but well, better something than nothing. Otto clapped his old mate on the shoulder. "Any good singers on tonight?" he asked, scratching behind his ear with his other hand and expecting no answer. The answer didn't matter. What did matter were the joys of well-established friendship, of standing in a pub and propping up the stage, or knowing you're surrounded by people who made you feel younger and better and less alone. Otto took a bite of pie, as he did most nights, and brushed the dust from his lapels, leaving clean space for the pie's spilling juices. He scratched his head vigorously and took a sip of his beer as the guitarist tuned up. He was home. That was Otto from the Pickled Herring Stall by Lesley Atherton.